Hi, my name is Benedict. Today we're going to look at the brand spanky new Osmium Distortion Matrix from Reason Studios. Look at me. I don't know whether this is going to come out on camera, but at the moment I feel like I'm in a J.J. Abrams film. There's lens flare everywhere. It's pretty early in the morning. And I am trying Osmium, and being me, I thought, well, let's try it in battle. It's more like a melee in reality. We're going to turn this into this. And there is nothing happening in here except some rather heavy-handed, intense use of osmium. As I said, I find trying things in battle to really be the best way to work out whether they are something that I'm going to want to use or not. So I threw it into quite a few situations and said, okay, what's going to happen with this? So we have a piece. We'll start here. Just a little drum machine of my own. I just couldn't be bothered making the sounds in Kong or what have you, so that's why that got used. Bitmap did the drumming. It's all rendered down so that our AV ended up matching, because that can be random otherwise. And we'll start with the reverb. No reverb. I only just put this together, so it's possibly not the smoothest way I could have made reverb here, but it was a great start. So I've used several of the features here. Firstly is that we've got the ability, like Algorithm, the FM synth, which is truly superb, to write things. Took me a couple of seconds to realise, oh, it writes exactly the same as Algorithm before. So you can take anything and pipe it to anything else, and it shows you what's active and what's happening. So that's very, very cool. In this case, no multiband stuff. I've just brought in, this becomes our pre-delay, so everything gets moved back by that amount. So as you see here, 100% wet mix. Not a lot of feedback on that, it's just moving the whole lot back. And then I've moved to, as you see, panned a left and right output channel. As you see, nothing comes from the center. It probably could have. I just unplugged it. I probably should have, and maybe turned it down, who knows. But this was the thinking that I had at the time, focused on getting the left and right. And so on the left, 82 milliseconds, on the right, 105. They are mixed 100% wet. And then on each side, a 50-50 mix of some more time. That's going to create quite a wide space. Off, on. So there's a lot of really nice early reflection kind of thing, and I was pleased with that. I will just turn it down a little bit here because it's a bit excessive, and it was actually up full in the mix, but I'm going to have to listen to this a few times, so I'll just pull it back a little bit. So we can close him up. So we've got our drum machine here. And we put it through a processor. Not about achieving anybody else's sound, but just about saying, okay, what can I do with it? I put it into multiband and then just, well, I started by EQing, bringing out more of the center of the sound, the brighter half of it. A little bit of saturation on each of these, a wave folder, and a morphing filter. Everything's fairly flat. So this is moving things, including left and right, and we've automated that with the LFO. And if I recall correctly, yes, the LFO actually has its rate modified by the second LFO. A little bit of overdrive on the top, which I had to pull back in the end, and then using the compressor, which isn't doing a lot, to be perfectly honest here. So, dry, wet. It just creates a character sound. Then my bass. FM-ish, DXy sort of a sound, given a lot of ear. Nothing on the input. As you see, I've got sort of a little bit of interesting routing here. A lot of these I was just making it up as I went along, so sometimes the routing's a tiny bit circular. We move to a wave folder, which just gives me welly and thump. This is focusing in the sort of low to mids, because we wanted it to be a bass sound. Because I want this to have a kind of a punch to it, and then just a little bit of... Probably don't need this, seeing there's the echo that's put in, like the reverb space, but why not? And then a little bit of bit crushing. The sound is great on its own, but it helps pull it into the mix. So it's cool for that. It really is cool for that. Everything here got pulled into a rhythm bus, which I think I accidentally left on. So it's using a little bit of, this is a sneaky trick, a little bit of pitch shifting. So that's a little like using a saturation, but just adds a little bit of brightness. Some saturation. Again, it's adding just drive and presence. And a little bit of compression. Not sure how in love with this compressor I am, but it definitely does the job that it's meant to do. So that is cool. So it just adds an extra layer of presence and punch to our rhythm section. Over here we have a algorithm. Just a very simple arpeggiator, a couple of operators, I did change this later in the process because I had a lot of popping coming from what I did have. It was another one of the wave folder presets, but it was prone to giving me great big pops and clicks. That's just because it was pretty heavy-handed, and this is supposed to be more of an arpeggio than a bass line in the final result, so... We've got two bands here. So it automatically decides how you're going to split out your bands and automatically rearranges. Everything is pretty good. Initially it took me a little bit to get used to, well, what am I looking at? It does highlight it and everything, but sometimes it's easier to see than others, but you get used to it fairly quickly to be knowing what you're looking at. If, of course, you've got the same thing 3 or 4 times spread across lots of places, it can be a little harder, but you do get used to it. If you're not sure, then you just go back and go, okay, that's the one. Keep pressing it until you're sure that you've got the thing that you want. So just a little bit of drive on the bottom half, which again made more sense with the earlier drive that I had, which did add a lot more oomph in the bottom, but it also added some nasty clicks, which just dominated the mix. EQing the middle, and then here you notice I've got a little bit of stereo amplification. I've got this delay, which they showed in the official thing, so I've set my echo to be on a separate channel and then just process that echo. So it adds a nice... And then a couple of layers of movement. We're modifying our delay time and we're modifying our filter frequency here as well. That adds something cool. A string sound. A few multi-oscillators, so... two the same, and then one an octave higher. No filtering, no anything, just creating our basic form here. And then this does quite a lot of work. The first thing is I've used the external send and return routine, so it sends to a quartet and echo before it goes in. Probably I should have done that at the end, but I did this later because I did actually have the chorus on in Thor, and I thought, oh, no, let's see how that goes. Very nice. So it hasn't modified anything, it's just sent it out, brought it back. Really useful. So we create our chorus echoed sound and then start to process it. It is multiband, a little bit of saturation across each of these. Obviously, we can drive harder where there is less level, so we get this very bright, present sort of a sound. Initially, I had just lowered the level here, and I thought, why do something simple when you could do something complex and use this filter? Because it's a bit full and gluggy, I wanted it to be light and bright, so we've used that to hack that out. On the high end, a little bit more saturation, and again, we've gone with a pitch shift. So it just adds that little bit of brightness. And we've got a lot of brightness being added on overall. So we've taken and moved it to, which has a really nice 70s sort of feel. Oh, if you hadn't noticed, all the sound names are reference to something or other, which is generally a bit relevant. And then here's where I actually started. This one is quite a surprise. We've got nothing but a sine wave. Nothing happening in here at all, but it's the very first thing that I started with and turned it into kind of a John Lord, Deep Purple sort of a sound. And it's all done with pitch shifts. You'll see I've got tons of pitch shifts here. So, and I did notice straight away there's something a bit weird with the display here. It seems to represent what's here, but not what's here. So if we look here, we've got another pitch shift. Turn that off. We don't see any changes here. Because there's only sine waves, I should see another one light up. So I kind of wonder, why are we seeing what's coming in to this point rather than being able to see what's coming out? There doesn't appear to be any button to change that. Yes, oversampling. I didn't turn that off, to be honest. Normally I'd turn it off, it's a waste of resources, but it didn't seem to cause any difficulties with CPU in this case. So we were fine. The whole project's running at 44K. So shouldn't be much challenge to anything. It does sound pretty darn good. So we've got one line, which is, as pointed out, it's a little bit circular. It sort of grew, it morphed over time. So we've got a pitch shift which adds one octave up, a second pitch shift which adds a fifth up, so 7 semitones, so G when we're playing C. The third one which is just doing a little bit of chorusing, and then another one which is an octave up with a little bit of chorusing as well. So we can play polyphonically, but because we've got all these pitch shifts, which honestly don't respond nicely to polyphonic, we've taken our single and turned it into like a sort of a B3. Yes, there's a little bit of latency in all of them. I went as fast as possible, which reduces the quality, but we weren't going for high quality in this in the first place. There's I can't remember what really went where. I think it goes to here next, because that's just too clean. Compressor, because not really needed, but it does give you that more solid sound. And this feedback's interesting. It's primarily designed for guitars, but it will create a resonance feedback, like a guitar into speaker, sort of a howl. It's not super versatile, but it is interesting. I used it both here and in the reverb. The reverb actually uses that at the end to just create a little bit of that feeling of something happening. So notice how the sound becomes flatter. So it's nice having that little bit of ringing overtone inside it. We go through a cabinet. I'm not big on IRs, but it is what it is. I just used it. And this, okay, just modulating the output delay there. You can hear the feedback hanging on. Doesn't necessarily seem to be a way to change the size or length of the feedback, but I may just have not got there yet. And then this guy here, where is it? Morph filter. It's adding, well, obviously changing our tone overall, but we're moving that stereo width a little bit, so it gives us a slight emulation of a Leslie cabinet, so between the speaker EQ and the morph filter. There's no right or wrong sound. In many ways it sounds nicer without half of this stuff. But it was a case of going, how much can I throw at this? I filled every single box, so I ran out of options, but it is pretty impressive to take this wee sound and turn it into that. You kind of don't see that coming. So that's all the sounds, quick little sequence, and we go from, again, which is pretty ick. And in this case, we haven't got a mastering on, because I also wanted to see what's going to happen as mastering. I've handled levels externally so that we've got a better A-B. So compressor on the way in. Again, I'd need to get used to this compressor a little bit more. Didn't feel the ballistics, but like a lot of these things, it may have been designed to feel fast or something. I don't understand the thinking in it yet. It's not saying it's bad, but I'm just not at that point after a quick play of saying, ooh, in terms of it being a reach for first. So it's a compressor. I did the multiband thing, even though I'm not a fan of multiband, especially on masters, because I think you warp the room, but people were saying, you can't use it for this because it's going to change the sound. I was like, mastering is about changing the sound. It may not be what you want to do, but largely that's what you're going to do. So why is it bad? In terms of, does it do anything terrible to the sound? Well, let's turn off the before and after. Let's turn off these. So we've just got the multiband. Doesn't seem to sound bad one way or another, so bugger it, might as well have at it. So compressor, little bit of saturation on each of the things. So again, you see that I've got different types of saturation on each of these. Whether that's a good or bad idea, I don't know, but seeing they were separated might as well. Just said, okay, what I want to do here, what I wanted to do there. Like I say, it may not be what I would do in reality, but what the hey, everything's processed at the wazoo here, so why not have more? And then just an overall EQ. That's just pulling a little in the mud and adding that little bit of brightness. There is actually a little bit of width here. That wasn't supposed to be there, but whatever, it's there, and then just bringing up to level. So again, we've got pre-master, master. Probably not the most elegant tool for this, especially in multiband mode, but why not? It definitely seems to work. So in terms of, is it an insta-buy for me? I haven't decided yet, but I got to say I'm kind of leaning that way. When I saw it was a distortion unit rather than a noise-based synth, I was a bit like, but it does sound really good. It's incredibly clever, and Reason Studios really are the master of doing this sort of thing. The ability to rat like this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 effects, all ratted with the ability to have different levels and pannings and what have you. So here, as in the reverb situation, that's actually really cool. So I'm glad they put a delay unit in, because without that it would be a lot less interesting. So very, very good thought as to not just saying here's one thing. Like so many Reason devices, yeah, it presents as one thing, but then you realize you can do an awful lot of stuff with it, and that's what makes it interesting. It sounds good. Overall, Reason, the DAW has a sound. People are going to say, no, it doesn't, because you can... It's like, yeah, whatever. But just take Europa, take Subtractor or whatever, put the same patch into, let's say, Bitwig, because it's probably the closest to Reason in usability and workflow, and it sounds a lot warmer than it does in Reason. I would love Reason to have and to take a lead, really. The Studio One sort of got that lead in the sense that you can imbue their mixer with certain mixery characteristics, saturation, Neve sound. It would be kind of cool for Reason to say, okay, we've got this SSL, we've got probably the nicest mixing interface in the whole damn universe, or the DAWverse anyway, and to be able to say, okay, let's give you the option to change the sound. How Bitwig and other DAWs as well, how they process VST, plugins, synth sounds, what have you, is what I can't. I don't care about putting in WAV files and spitting them out and doing A-B comparisons and inversions and this, that, and the other. Couldn't give a flying banana peel. Of course, one would expect that to be clean, but as soon as you start processing, then the sound of a DAW comes out, of course, because they did their coding their way, they did their math their way. Reason's, as I always say, kind of like the NS10 of the sound of DAWs. It's brutal, but you can modify it the way you want. But sometimes it'd be nice to be able to say, can I flip a switch and move into a this mode or a that mode for the overall sound? Obviously, the greatest versatility would be to do that at the channel level, so that's like putting a saturator into each channel, just as I've done here with the rhythm bus. I've said, okay, well, those channels, we're now going to process them like this. I'd be very eager to see Reason do that. I've spoken about that quite a few times, but I might as well speak about it again here because they've made this super cool... it's more than a distortion thing, but it's a tone, timbre, do cool stuff matrix box, which I think is very, very attractive. And again, sort of says, well, look, you've got all the bits. You just got to work out how to put it into your system, and it gives you a lead over everyone but possibly Studio One. But by the time Reason do it and do it in an interesting way, I think it'd give you a lead that nobody else really has. Other people are playing with, obviously Luna is playing with, but, you know, bugger that, you can't use the damn thing. It's no MIDI. So it's a thing. But back to Osmium, very interesting, especially seeing I've got some rewards coins. I will throw that at this, and I think I probably will end up with it. But don't quote me if you find that in a month or so's time that I don't have it. I may have decided it wasn't that vital, but it's very, very cool, very, very clever in its implementation, that it makes it so incredibly versatile. All right, get out there, have a good day.